So today I'm going to pivot one small ever so slightly. This isn't the same genre as the previous movie. I suppose sort of tangentially related. I suppose. I mean and I really do absolutely not watch many of these at all, and I do not normally like them either. But sometimes I do. Like once I watched this, I think it was a French film called Papillon, and it's French for butterfly, and it kept going from one island to another. That's pretty much most of what I remember. It's been years, but somehow I seem to whatever it was, whatever else it had in it, I seem to like it for some reason. So yeah, I'm talking about Prison Break movies. I don't really watch them really much at all. I've seen a few episodes of the series itself. I think it's really called Prison Break. But I really haven't watched it all or anything. Um, I thought it was clever. I thought that he had a map on his back of how long I was not that sure. Anyway, yeah, I don't watch that much, but I thought of watching one now, and I think I've watched some of the films about this specifically, but I don't think I've watched this. It is from 1979, and it's called Escape from Alcatraz. And yeah, I think I've watched it. I mean, obviously, Alcatraz is probably the most famous, I think, former prison. Um, and so I'm assuming there are many movies that have an escape from it as the thing. I'm not sure if like Shawshank Redemption is set there. Well, it's set in a prison, obviously, but could be in a prison. Um, yeah, I'm not sure why I'm not very interested in them. I suppose they could be sort of like thrillers, but some of them are interesting. Like, I remember a film where this person just dug a hole using. I'm not sure if this is Shawshank Redemption. I forgot it now as well. Yeah, dug a hole using a spoon. I think it might have been based on real life as well. And that's quite something. I'm not sure if it's at all possible. I don't think it is, but who knows? Um. So yeah, this is um. My only problem with this is the actor. Yeah, the first build actor. Uh, yeah, I don't quite um not very much interested in him. He mostly does westerns, and I don't like westerns in general. But uh, yeah, well, in general, I'm not very interested in this genre. But I thought, why not anyway? I mean, yeah, just whatever, really. So yeah, I'm going to try this now. Probably have even less interest in it than I had. Well, certainly in comparison to yesterday's movie, Dark Water. I mean, that wasn't just another horror film. It was a very subtle, horrifying thing. In fact, I think I'm going to try to find more in that vein. Where gore isn't the focus. I don't know why gore is the focus so much. Like, who cares? Uh, there's so many. The whole One Miss Call franchise. The whole Death Bell franchise, and it's only a couple. It's like that's all they ever think about. How can we make this as gory as possible? You know, the scene with the motorbike. I mean, yeah, it's very gory, I suppose, to elicit comments, but is is that is that really positive? I mean, people seem to be positive, but it's just gore for its own sake. So as I on that front, and I'm not expecting this to be gory. I mean, I suppose there might be some violence. Here says that it has some upsetting scenes as well. Not sure how they define that, considering everyone finds, um, you know, everyone has their own subjective sort of upsetting scenes and things that individually affect them. Assuming it's different for everyone. Um, I mostly hate scenes where animals are, you know, because it's one thing if humans decide to fight it out, they're consenting to it, you know. Unless a human fights a bear or something, and even that would need to be a bare knuckle fight, not no a cowardly gun. Uh, yeah, other than that, most animals are, it's like fighting children. What's the point? People are a bunch of cowards, so whoever does that. Anyway, yeah. So I'm going to begin this now. I'm not sure why I'm just rambling on before I even begin at all. It's already quite long. I mean, this is intimidating. Well, 1 hour 47 minutes. I think I've seen something even longer recently. I don't know. What was longer? Was Noah longer? Might be around the same time. Anyway, I'm gonna begin it now. Yeah. So yeah, the music is sort of particular note as this begins. I mean, that's pretty much all there is besides the visuals. And the music is something. It's militaristic, despite this. I mean, I suppose it doesn't quite deal with the military. I mean, police forces in the military. I guess it's related. Um, so yeah, it has this beat, this militaristic beat, but then it also has this ominous sort of thing in the background, which makes it seem like everything is sinking. I'm not really sure I ever heard two in conjunction, and I'm not sure if they work. I suppose they do. Well, I've never heard of the music maker. I've never heard of most of these actors actually for some reason, besides the principal one. I haven't heard of the writer either. Hmm. Then again, I do not really watch many of such within this genre, so to be expected. But this is why I don't really watch much of these. They clearly try to make the audience feel uncomfortable as well. I suppose it's in a way it makes sense in a way to in order to experience what the people would experience if if one was there. But I don't know. Why do people like prison break movies? If I mean, people watch movies not necessarily to be uncomfortable, right? Like even horror films might elicit fear, which is sort of uncomfortable, but not quite uncomfortable in this sense, to this extent. I don't know. Just this is a different sort of uncomfortable, which is even more annoying. And then of course there's other movies which try to make the audience feel disgusted and such, which I don't quite like either. Similarly, what's the point? Like there's some which just do so deliberately for no reason as well, and those are the worst kind of movies. I mean, well, there's no point, right? Like, at least it should be within the plot that makes some sort of sense. But just to be provocative, I mean, makes no sense. They're really the lowest sort of denominator. This isn't, I mean, the lowest. It's trying to simulate a prison environment, I suppose, a prison induction and such. But I don't know. In terms of movies, I mean, even a domestic drama is slightly more interesting than this. I mean, I don't know. Well, obviously, this will turn out to be a prison drama. I'm assuming, but the initial things, the processing and whatnot, are just annoying, and uncomfortable, as they would be in real life. But just I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know how many people there are that watch these movies just for this. I'm assuming maybe not many. Uh, but anyway, yeah. To be honest, though, I don't know why this is so highly rated. Obviously, I've only seen less than 10 minutes so far, so I'm obviously So anyway, this is mostly prejudice, but um, it does seem. I mean, it is highly rated, and I doubt I'm going to rate it. 7 or 8, like most people seem to do. Some people more 8 than 7, but mostly 7. Anyway, I, I mean, like even at the beginning, so it's obviously at first it's procedural and such, but then we begin, and I'm not sure if people are impressed by this, but when the guard said, "Welcome to Alcatraz," that there was a bolt of lightning just at that moment. Like, you know, in reality, but that's not very likely to happen. So even if there were, you know, if there was lightning, what's the likelihood that one strikes exactly after he says that? It's, it's obviously obviously did it artificially for the movie. But somehow people still think that it's a good presentation, I guess, which I suppose, all things considered, it kind of is, but it's also artificial, and as one can see, one can just be bothered about artificiality. So, which is strange because, they're trying to, follow sort of a realistic procedure at first, but then, how realistic is it that, bolt strikes exactly at that time? Yeah. And one of the things that is sort of uncomfortable, but only in the context of current affairs mainly. I mean, so not at all. I mean, when this was made decades ago, um, in terms of current affairs, in terms of the pandemic, well, I often hear that that prisons have problems because obviously everyone is close together and such, and if someone is infected, there's like care homes have, it's care homes have much more problem considering the age. But yeah, it's just another one. So prisons are already uncomfortable, but to be inside of one with a pandemic on must be uh, really quite tough, especially if people know that there's an outbreak within the specific prison. I've read that there's been a few deaths as well. But the mouse was a interesting. sort of reprieve from everything that happens so far. I had no idea they ate pasta. No, yeah. Stereotypically, rodents eat cheese, don't they? I'm not sure if they. That's really their main staple. Um, because pasta is flour, so not quite related, but no, not quite. Yeah, it was a cute little mouse, wasn't it? And I haven't actually watched any other films of his, but uh, some quotes, I guess, are famous outside of the movies as well. So much so that I did hear them. So in a way, not much of if this came before the other movies so or after. I have no idea about the timeline. We'll check later. But yeah, that huge guy said at one point he's looking for a new punk, and the other one said good luck. Now that's something similar that was said in another of his movies, wasn't it? Are you feeling lucky, punk? Right? I think that was. But yeah, I don't know which it was from exactly, or whether it was before or after. I mean, if it was before, it would be a reference. If it was after, then that would probably be a reference to this. Yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, I have this. I don't know if Prison Breaks and Westerns are the only movies he ever acted in, but they aren't quite. But both of those I did not quite watch at all. This is complete happenstance that I watched this. Last I watched some Western was years ago, absolute years. So it was probably, it's not exactly Western, but sort of similar. It was the Coen brothers, I think. Oh, oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? It's sort of like a Western, but not like the old ones, though. Just sort of similar. I don't think I've seen any since. I mean, the Coen brothers do a lot of different anime, even the genres that they dabble in, they're still different from me. Humor tends to be dry and black. Yeah, I should probably watch some of the movies. I haven't seen any in a while. They're not too bad. I've seen I've enjoyed some of them. Yeah, but they do tend to be violent. Anyway, I don't get the point of what happened on those stairs. Uh, yeah, I mean, is it done for no reason or just for reason of provocation? Yeah, in a sense. Um, I think there was something similar in Shawshank Redemption, not quite as useless. Still have no idea why Shawshank Redemption is so incredibly highly rated, though. Those people like the idea of wading through feces to escape. I don't know. I've seen more interesting movies. And I don't know why Full Metal Alchemist is so highly rated either. FMAB specifically. But at least there's no scenes where they wade through feces. And it's not one long prison break either. Uh, As I said, the only I don't think I've ever watched many of these sort of films, but of everything I've ever watched, I'm not sure how much it is. I've only ever liked one for some reason. Kind of forgot why I liked it even. But they tend to be drab. Some things I've no idea what's the reason, right? Mm. Oh. Anyway, you know, they said that having individual cells with only one person in them at a time was a feature of this security prison. Uh, you know, I cannot say any drawbacks to that. Like, you know, it's very easy, obviously, for if someone is stuck, with someone who hates them and such, it's very easy to be harmed in such a case. And so, being individual in each cell prevents that. I really cannot see any drawback to that. I think it's better, really, to be in such a case. Me sure it's a small one, not small cells, but um, in terms of being alone, I think it's better. And that was kind of a funny moment. There's not exactly many of those here in this movie, but when the warden finds a picture of himself, he's like, "Ooh, I'm beautiful." Um, yeah. Or maybe not, since apparently he doesn't want to keep painting for some reason. But you know, his face did seem to indicate that he liked it. So it's strange. I cannot think of much of why. It seems to have no reason either. But yeah, people work mysteriously, and he can really paint. Um, yeah, both portraits and landscapes. It seems it's he can really paint something. It's quite very very nice. But I have no idea why he decided to paint the warden. I mean, he's clearly no friend. And he said he's inspiring. What's inspiring? He's clearly someone irrational who's tripping. Um, yeah, it's a pity. The last one he was painting was a bird uh, behind bars. It's obviously very symbolic. It's it's so black and white, but then there's red in the background, which I am assuming might indicate a sort of sunset. But yeah, you know what? I think I might have seen this at some point. Must have been many years ago, because I haven't even marked it in the database. There was a time obviously when I watched movies and I didn't mark them. I only really marked the ones that I could remember. And clearly, a Prison Break movie isn't very high up on the memory list. And in fact, I don't quite remember much else. But obviously, the scene with the hatchet is quite memorable, as it could be. I thought I might have remembered the thing with the paintings being removed, but yeah, this seemed to more clearly indicate that I might have. Hmm, I don't know why. Anyway, they're given hatchets. I mean, couldn't they just kill each other as such? It's a bit risky. So yeah, I'm going to continue with it anyway. I mean, it must have been many years anyway. Uh, but so much of this is the one where they escape using a spoon. Earlier, something above was mentioned, so maybe not. I'm not sure. We'll see. This the scene in the where the hatchet thing happened, where all the woodworking is seriously uncomfortable. Like there is not only all the woodworking going on, all the noise associated with that, the music, if you can call it that, is just some high pitched noise. It almost sounds like a saw actually, but it's continuous, so it's not gonna saw. Doesn't seem like it's coming from inside the room. It's clearly something done on a synthesizer, I assume, or such. Um, whoever did the music for this truly had uncomfortability in their minds. You know, how can this feeling be accentuated? They must have thought. And that's the only thing, right? As if a scene with the hatchet wasn't uncomfortable enough. They want to include, in addition to all the noise with the woodworking already present, they want to include this drone, or whatever it's called. But yeah, the thing with the flower is quite symbolic, I suppose, because earlier he told him it's the one thing that cannot be taken away from me, and so technically that was true. It was still in his possession up till the end, and then he decided to give it away before the hatchet scene. Yeah, so yeah, interesting. I suppose this is sort of like a commentary, I suppose, between you know what happens that's irrational in such institutions. Like some have this and that touched on this as well, where books cannot be given out. I mean, there was really no reason why books weren't given out, really. You know, being constructive generally, but taking away all these paintings, if that isn't some irrational act, no one knows what that is. There's not even any possibility of escape or anything through paintings, except, of course, psychologically, which I assume was his main intention. But it's a sadistic uh, uh, reason for that. Obviously, it shouldn't be done. You know, it's one thing to keep people from escaping, but psychologically as well. It's just So apparently, a nail clipper is used instead of a spoon. You know, I cannot believe that something supposedly made of solid rock. You know, earlier it was said it was made of stone throughout or such. Could be so easily destroyed. Seemed like foam almost, or cardboard just being chipped away. And yeah, the spoon came afterwards. So this must have been the one I remember. Yeah, clearly nail clippers are no use for that. They're mostly only to cut off nails, obviously something specific. And yeah, um, the best thing for to dig is like a shovel or something. I think, I suppose. And the bit where Charlie couldn't whistle. I mean, yeah, that's I suppose that's another bit of comedy there. Shouldn't have. Surely should have known whether he can or cannot whistle, unless it's a thing of the moment where somehow don't think I ever suddenly so observe that happens. So surely should have known before agreeing to whistle in certain circumstances. Yeah, this bizarre sight. But, an hour in, and the hole is barely a few inches more than the hole that was there before. It's not even double the size or anything. So, realistically, if this was, sort of linear time, there's no way anyone would escape within 40 minutes. Let's make them 50. Uh, yeah, it's, well, in movies, stuff happens, doesn't it? It's quite creepy that they smuggled hair to replicate the uh, the head, made out of cardboard, I suppose it was. That's the fact that all they need to do was just dig just a bit. And surely a well-built prison would have, a lengthy wall behind every room. Because otherwise, yeah, all they need to do is just dig sufficiently to be able to fit in a hole, like what happened. Um, that's it, I guess. So that just depends on the fact that they call it the rock, and there's barely any rock, and there's already a hole there, and all they need to do is dig just a bit to fit in. It's a bit of a weird thing. I'm not sure if this prison was really so weak. That's quite weak though. It's just surely they should do more and invest in a real solid wall. Well, anyway, I'm just thinking out loud, and I have no interest in uh, anything to do with this, but I'm just surprised that it's so shallow. Uh, so they have never said so far at this point, sort of beyond that. I mean, there's only 20 minutes left or so. They've never said, I'm assuming that they'll never say, what Morris did in the first place to end up here. You mentioned that he had a short childhood. The others did, though. There's one who stole cars and another in for murder, but not Morris, besides other prison breaks, but never said why he's here in the first place. I wonder why. Why do it for everyone else, but not him? Not, not that I care about this too much in the end. Won't make much difference, whether the movie's enjoyed or not. But, just fills the detail. I mean, at this point, the only thing he seemed to say about his past, about his life outside of this, is that thing about a short childhood. Nothing else, just a single sentence. So in a way, his character is paper thin, sort of like the wall. Yes, it's funny. I wonder if cells do really have a small hole like that. I suppose it's for about ventilation, but it does present though a risk, doesn't it? That's kind of a risk, huh? And you know, what is the point of the light on the roof this cycle of light. What's the point of it if it cannot detect presence? I mean, I'm thinking if they really wanted to check whether there's anyone, well, yeah, you either see movement through just that kind of light, or because something else could be used as well, so like infrared or heat detection or such, kind of like a Metal Gear Solid. But this this seems to just be light without any, just a light. Suppose people would need to follow it as well, consciously, the eyesight following the light wherever it goes. If they really wanted to find someone, but they don't, it seems. So in this case, if this was really like this, exactly, they could really just dig a bit, deep it from wall, and just go up and get on the roof from just digging a bit. And even on the roof, there's no. I mean, the whole setup is ridiculously easy, ridiculously um, just it's anything other than a rock, isn't it? It's not solid. For all the training with guns that they do, they don't even have any proper lookout. I mean, I don't know if this is just something that they happen to miss in a movie, you know. Otherwise, if they had solid security and solid walls and such, well, they would never be able to escape it. And that's the whole point of the movie, I suppose. It's the whole title. But I mean, I don't know. I guess it might have been like this as well in real life. And in which case, I mean, sure, it's an island, so then they have problem getting away, and yeah, it's going to try to go on rafts. Still, it's very permeable. But yeah, I mean, more of the same as well. This was how it was in real life, but a high security prison surely would have electrified fences, and spiky wires on top, whatever they're called. I mean, this had nothing. This is a very poorly secured institution, clearly. I don't know if it really was like that. Maybe it was at the very end when the walls were crumbling, but even if the walls weren't crumbling, what's the point of just building a bit of a wall between? Anyway, this is beyond the movie commentary, I suppose. I'm just trying to see how so-called maximum security prisons can possibly be like this, which is absurd. Yeah. Also, the fact that the guards never realized that there are dummies inside the bed. I mean, they clearly look artificial. Well, what kind of, you know, it's not even, it's not even like a realistic android or anything. I mean, sure, they may have painted them this same hue, but they do look, they do look like cardboard. I mean, and the hair is bizarre. It's really strange how everyone seems to be oblivious. Uh, yeah, very strange. There was a guard whose real name was Nolan somehow. That's very ironic considering they seem to know so very little. Yeah. Also, nobody confirmed whether Litmus was really Al Capone. I think he really did. He was imprisoned, wasn't he? In real life, but why would he be called Litmus otherwise? I suppose a nickname people can have. Haven't heard it really good. The cardboard head at the end and the end credits is quite creepy. That's probably the creepiest scene. Just they kept it there and just roll the credits on top. Yeah, quite creepy scene. And the music, the music is clearly a highlight. I mean, one can barely call it the music. It's more like some sort of effects that this this person, the creator, wanted to just put there. It's quite interesting in a way. It can easily fit in a more horrific movie. I mean, this is not a horror movie really, but the music really is sort of, it can easily be transferred to horror. I think it creates quite an atmosphere. So in this sense, I think the music sort of eclipsed the movie itself, which is quite procedural. I mean, the movie wasn't exactly the most inspiring thing ever, and as I say, I've, I've, I think I was impressed by Papillion once when I once watched it. For I forgot exactly why, but I think it had to do with the fact that it kept going from one island to another. I think I remember a sense of freedom, but beyond that, I don't quite remember much more. Uh, and this, well, obviously there was freedom in the sense that they, they escaped once. Other than that, though, apparently they really weren't found in real life, although I'll just read about it a bit more. In reality, they just hid. Why would they hide? Well, why would they want anyone to know that they survived? That's the whole point, isn't it? I'm not entirely sure why the warden thought that just because, I mean, the flowers didn't even bloom there, so why would they? I suppose he just thought they just washed ashore since they crashed or something. Anyway, no, but the thing is, it was very procedural. I don't know if it happened exactly like this, but it seemed almost easy. I mean, what was the point of that? I mean, that wolf guy presented more of a challenge to Morris mainly than the prison. There, the prison seemed to be just a pushover, with a thin wall and then barely anything else. I mean, a pipe was dropped, and nobody can be bothered to even report it or even investigate it fully. I mean, I don't know if this happened in real life, but I suppose it can happen. But just it seemed like the whole system was set up to fail, and this is supposed to be some sort of ultimate island fortress, and it was anything but that. So it's no wonder it closed a year later. But uh, the, the crumbling wall was the least of their problems, and there was so much more that it wasn't maximum security, clearly. Anyway, so yeah, anyway, and this is not the point. I suppose a movie can still be entertaining without, I suppose without the whole thing, without a real challenge of being overcome and such. I mean, for all anyone knows, this really happened in real life, and prison was ineffectual after all. But I don't know, as I say, it was procedural. And, the only character that seemed interesting, really, was Litmus' character, and Doc as well. But then, he's never seen after the hatchet scene. So it's a pity that both of them don't really have much, really. And then Charlie doesn't have much of a role either after uh, being afraid at the end. And I don't know, I'm not generally impressed with prison break movies. I mean, I wasn't terribly impressed with uh, Yeah, Shawshank Redemption either. But this is even less, I suppose. I don't know. It's um to be honest, though, they're pretty much all the same as well. I think not quite most interesting things ever. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm surprised there's so many of them. Kind of like zombie movies. They just keep proliferating, and yet they're all pretty much the same. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's not a genre where you can have a lot in it, and somehow they still have a lot, but they're all pretty much the same. So, I mean, if anything's set in a prison, most likely they're going to try to break out. With zombies, they're just going to just slowly come at you. What else is there? I'm surprised these genres keep on. On the other hand, something like Western, there aren't exactly many. I mean, there were more in decades past. So in a way, that did sort of reach a peak, and then it just stopped pretty much. And there's only like one every so often still released, and they're barely anything like they used to be in the past, where they still seem to, in the past especially, seem to release them sort of like an industry, and they're all fairly similar as well. In some aspects, mainly, I mean, they change a few characters, a few relationships, which is pretty much the same thing with these two other genres as well. Even horror, so it can be much more diversified. Even if the ultimate feeling is still fear, uh, and but you can still, even the fact that you could have gory films, which constitute a lot of them, unfortunately, but then you can have subtle ones like Dark Water, and you could have sort of spiritual ones like Jacob's Ladder. So there's still a variety. You could have ghosts, you could have vampires, I suppose. It could be also horror. So as a genre, it is much more diversified. Obviously, then you got others like simply the drama genre, which is barely a cohesive thing in itself. It can be absolutely anything. Uh, so there's quite a lot, isn't it? Whereas these tend to be the same, and drama can be absolutely everything, as long as the doesn't. It's not like Moon, where it's sort of like a existential drama, where and that would be sci-fi then, because it's literally set on the moon. But even if it's just like a domestic drama, it's often different. There are all sorts of difference, and they can be either thrillers or whatever. Really, they can be period dramas, they can be costume dramas. But this is why I don't watch these much. I don't watch many zombie movies. Are on average boring in my opinion. And so are these, really. I honestly have not I suppose Shawshank Redemption sort of gives people, I don't know, makes people feel hope. I suppose I'm assuming that's why they rate it highly. But it's it's quite similar in this aspect to many other. I suppose if you're stuck on a prison island, then yeah, Escape from Alcatraz gives you hope if you're in a similar situation. All the movies are fairly similar, as I say, procedural. So this is why I don't get it, why they're popular. I'm not sure if they still make a lot of them, and this is decades old. It's what, like 40 years old. Yeah. Um, but yeah. Anyway, so I think I watched it once in the past, but I don't think I'm gonna watch it again now that it's yeah, but yeah, it's it's what it is. I suppose it's a bit of history, but ultimately it's still a Prison Break movie.